Looks like. All right, so I'll start then. Welcome. I've got a few slides. It's going to be not super slide heavy, but let me just jump in. I'll start the presenting. Okay, can you all see my screen at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
So welcome. It's great that you took a chance on doing this remote course in these crazy times. I hope it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I can speak German, so if there's anything, if I speak too fast or anything, just give me feedback straight away. Okay, let's dive in. So first we'll have just a little overview of the course. So basically what I think the goals are of this course, and you're free to disagree or come up with more, is that the first thing is that I'm hoping that this is going to enable you to use Google Apps Script yourself. So, and by doing so, that will make you more productive and efficient in your daily work. So I'm hoping that this is going to be something that you can, get some direct value out of. Looking at the use cases you sent me, I think that's going to be the case. We'll come to that shortly. Along the way, we're going to learn some JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Now, I know some of you have done no programming before, and others have done bits, but not much. So don't worry about that. I'm going to try and do it in a way so that everyone's going to be able to do something by the end of this. For some of you guys who've done a lot of programming before, there may be lessons you want to skip, but don't feel that you can't do stuff. If you're struggling, we can also connect like after the class, and I can see if I can help you some more. So next lesson is where we'll start really diving into JavaScript. But the main thing is I'm hoping is that I can get you excited about this platform as a way to learn about programming, because what's really nice about it is it's directly connected to real problems. So it's not just making a web app for a football team or something. It's something that you can directly use at work, and you also get feedback very quickly from it. So if you have an idea, you can test it, and it's immediately useful to you. So to me, those are the main goals of the course overall, and I hope we're going to get there. This is what I've been thinking about how the lessons would break down. So the first today we'd be introducing GAS, or Google Apps Script. Then next class, we'll do a crash course in JavaScript. After that, we'll get into looking at Google Apps Script with the G Suite apps. So the various APIs. Now, the word API, I'll explain more later. Don't let that bother you. In short, it's like the way that you can interact with applications like Google Sheets. So they provide an API, and using Google Apps Script, you can tell Google Sheets to do things for you. Then we'll get deep into Google Apps Sheets, because I think probably that's the most useful combination for most of the people here. Pushing on, then we'll do a kind of a workshop session where if you have some of your use cases, or you have more things that have come up, we'll try and build that together. And I've got some things that I could show you how I build it. So that should be a kind of an interactive session. Then we'll get into HTML and web apps, which you can build on top of Google Apps Script. And we'll add some CSS and be using a CSS framework called Materialize, which gives you the kind of look and feel of most Google applications. Then we'll get into events and triggers, so it starts to get a bit more advanced at the end. Do another workshop session. Look at customizing Google Sheets and some advanced topics. whatever those may be at the end. So that's my current thinking of how this goes. Along the way, if you guys want different stuff, want to focus on different things, or if we're taking too long or it goes too fast, we may adapt to this. But that's currently what we got. Okay. What I'm going to do, so each time we'll have an hour's lesson over Google Hangout Meet, and there'll be some homework. Sorry to tell you this stuff. No, it'll be each time I'll try and give you a little bit of something to do after the class. It won't be too heavy, but just to give you some hands-on practice. And also, if you have trouble with that, you can get by the Slack channel or contact me directly, and I'm happy to help you. We'll be putting the recordings on YouTube, as I've said, so it's recording right now. I hope that's okay with everyone. Like I said, switch your video off if you're concerned. And I'll be putting course material on Google Classroom. Now, you should all have received a Google Classroom invite. We'll look at that a bit more later. So basically, Google Classroom is just a nice way for me to share links and put all the content in one place. So the slides, any links to videos or other material that's going to help you along the way. And I can set you assignments and homework. Well, we'll see how that goes. I'm still figuring it out. So yeah. And like I said, we're going to try and be as hands-on as possible. This first lesson is going to be a bit more listening. But hopefully not too much. All right. One thing is it's best with headphones if possible. If you want to talk, no problem if you don't have headphones. But usually on Hangouts, if you don't have headphones, you get some feedback coming back through the speakers. And if you're not talking, prefer you mute so we don't get lots of background noise. And I really encourage you to any chat, not just with me, but with the rest of the class here. Let's do it on Slack so that we can share experiences. And if you're having a problem with something, maybe someone can answer it quicker than I can. That would be great. Okay, so that's Google Classroom. I'll just show you what that looks like quickly. So there's a code. If you don't already have it, you can just go to here, and I'll put the code on the channel on Slack. So this is what Google Classroom looks like. Nothing too complicated, but it's got this stream at the beginning where I can post updates to you. I've put a few things in here already, like some useful links to like JavaScript basic courses if you find that what I show you isn't enough. Now, I'm hoping that you won't need to do these things, but I'm just giving you here some pointers that you can do more. You probably don't need a code, I hope, because I think I've invited you all. Elena. Okay, so this is, anyway. I'm not sure how much of these features we really need, because I'm also, if you'll allow me, just exploring what this tool can do and whether it's useful for doing these remote courses. Anyway, okay, so that's Google Classroom. Okay, and a key point, if you allow me to use this from South Park, there are no stupid questions, only stupid people. I mean, only stupid answers. So don't be shy. The best is, I know you may be feeling, oh yeah, but I don't know that much about JavaScript and I feel embarrassed to answer this question. Don't feel embarrassed. The only way, just like when you're a kid and you had to learn to walk and you fell over a lot, the best way to learn stuff is to ask questions. That's what we're here for. So, and you can also ask me privately if you're not happy asking in a group. I think the course will benefit from it if I'm going too fast or anything's unclear. That's the best way to get me feedback. All right, very briefly about me. So you can reach me on Slack that way. I'm not going to give you my life story, but I've been programming for over 20 years and working with Google Apps Script since I joined Tamedia, as it was back then in 2018. And what I've been using it for mostly is the whole back end of TX Academy. So when you registered, hopefully, well, actually I saw you did, you got an email, you got a calendar invite, all of that happened automatically. And that's all running on Google Apps Script with Google Sheets behind it. Maybe in one of the workshop sessions, I can actually show you how I built that, and it'll give you some ideas. I have no teaching experience. I think the only thing I can say, my mum was a German teacher in England. Don't know if that helps anything. But so if you're finding me annoying or confusing, just let me know. I won't feel bad. I'll just be very sad if you. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. I tend to make a lot of bad jokes, so please excuse that along the way. Right, about you guys first of all. So you filled in the form. Thanks for doing that. And here's just a quick summary of some of the things. So most of you haven't had much programming experience. That's no problem at all. One or two of you have had quite a lot. So I hope we're going to go at the pace of the people that don't have programming experience. Maybe the others who have programming experience, I think you'll find once you start getting into Google Apps Script, you'll be moving on faster. Maybe you can help your classmates with problems they're having. And there may be classes that you can skip because, you know, the material is stuff that's too easy for you. When it comes to JavaScript experience, so less of you have that. So actually maybe everyone but these three over here should join the next lesson. No problem at all. JavaScript is a very easy language to get into. I think you'll find it's a great place to start for anyone, even with no programming experience. And almost none of you have used Google Apps Script before, so you've come to the right class. Yeah, okay. So how about, just to make it embarrassing for all of you guys, how about a quick round, just briefly introduce yourself, what you do in the TX group, and maybe why you're interested in the course. Who wants to go first?
I can do that. So basically, I work for Marketing Competence Center, and I thought about using Google Apps Script to automate some of the tasks that I have. Let's say, yeah, that's in the long run, it should make my life easier. And I'm also interested in this.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Martina.
No worries.
Who next?
I can go next if you like. My name is Manuel. I'm working at Core4U as the head of customer service. Been with the company, the prior company, for 10 years now. And I'm looking forward to help with Google Sheets to my daily analysis that I do. And of the other courses, I have some very basic HTML experience that we come across every day, so that'll help. And I have no idea about JavaScript, but it sounded really interesting. So I look forward to that.
Great, cool. Welcome, Manuel.
So maybe I start. My name is Erhard. I'm the head of the workplace engineering. So my goal is, so I propose all of these hardware clients that you used. My goal is to mostly to automate something like in the scripts or sheet, or make some dashboards and so on to view the deployment, or automating the updates and something like that.
Great. Perfect. Welcome, Erhard.
Okay, then maybe I'll say something, as I came in one of the last probably. My name is Geske Frank, and I also have a clothing rack behind me. So,
Okay.
I'm interested in Google Apps scripts because I really don't like repetitive tasks. I had to do quite some reporting in the past where I could have used some maybe simple coding to automate. And I'm in the CIO office in the enterprise service management team, and we are introducing ServiceNow soon. And I'm sure that will also give us opportunities to improve things.
Great. Cool. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Hi, so this is Adela. I also work in the CIO office, so with Chesky. Hi. I thought it would be really a really interesting course because we use Google Sheets quite often, and it would be just interesting for me to find out what can this technology do and how we could use it. So I work as a data architect in the enterprise architecture and projects team.
Great. Welcome, Adela.
Hi, my name is Charles. I've been working for a couple months with Harry, actually, just developing TX Academy and projects related to this. So I've actually just wanted to develop the skill for Google Apps Script for budgeting, sheets, and stuff like that a little more to just be able to help out with that. So, hey, Harry, how's it going?
Good. Thank you. Welcome, Charles.
So I go next. My name is Pierluigi. Good afternoon. So I'm quite fresh in the media. I work for TX Group, and I work as front-end lead for the Unity team. And so for me, this course means I've been feeling the pain in the past of having to do too many clicks for doing something. And, being a software engineer, I'm more used to writing some code for doing what I need to. So since I know there are plenty of opportunities for automation with the Google Suite, I just wanted to learn how.
Great. Cool.
Hey, so maybe it's me that's next. My name is Nadia Baranyak. I'm, I think, the farthest away from you tech guys. I'm working as a PMO in the corporate services development and project area. And I always have pain if I can't work efficiently, and I'm a very pragmatic person, so I would like to automate some of the routine tasks I need. Already for all to you to know, so probably I will reach out the most when I have problems in programming, but I try to to go with the flow here.
Well, it sounds like you have the biggest problems to deal with, so that's great. You have lots of opportunities. But yeah, welcome, Nadia.
Hello, guys. I'm Simon, and I'm working at DAS, so Digital Services. I'm head of publisher services there, where we do some basic programming as of like reading the code, but we're not too focused on writing it. And with that, I had some contact with Google Apps Script before when I tried to create a dashboard for how we're respecting our SLAs when answering to emails and such, which turned out to be a bit more complicated than I thought it would be.
Okay, cool. Welcome, Simon. Anyone else?
I go next.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'm Omar at TX Group since over 1 year now. I'm front-end web developer for TX Markets Advertising, which is a small team of 13 people taking care of all advertising on our marketplaces. I'm looking forward to this course because I would like to leverage more what's behind this Google tool. Sorry. I would like to learn more about this cool Google tool and see how I can use it for my team and monitor any problems that might show up with our workflow.
Great. Cool. Welcome, Omar.
Thanks.
So my name is Michael. Hello at all. I'm working in the logistics department of Tamedia, and there I'm doing some project management along with my team. And basically, I hated programming in my study. Never did it. I skipped the lessons, and I never liked it. But now there were some moments or some time frames where I actually started doing a bit of myself, first on sheets, then I tried a little bit with scripts, and I got in contact with you, Harry, and now I'm really ambitious of doing something because I acknowledge that there's a lot of potential if you have some skills there. And yeah, I'm really happy to be in this course with you. Thank you.
Great. In fact, in a way, Michael, it's you to blame that I finally got around to organizing this. Yeah, I got motivated because you reached out. So that was great. And I think maybe just a quick point there. A lot of people, like, programming is a huge thing. I mean, you can do PhDs in programming topics, and often the way it gets taught is they start with some of the most abstract, complicated things. What's really nice about Google Apps Script is it's less focused on the programming and much more on getting things done, and you work with an environment where you can get results fast. So I think it's a more fun way to learn programming along the way, versus, they start by giving you a long tutorial in C programming or Java or C++. Anyway. Anyone else that we've missed?
Yeah, hello, I'm Michael. I work in the IT department in the office collaboration, and I'm here to learn a little bit more, to get a better understanding of Google Apps Script. We had in the past some interesting projects where we made with our third-party partner out of Apps Script, and yeah, I'm curious if we can do it also by ourselves and to just get a little bit more dive into the whole world of Google Apps Scripts.
Great, and great you're here, because I think maybe we might need your help, because you're also responsible for the G Suite platform. Yeah. So it might be we need some permissions later on in the course to do so.
Yeah, we can figure it out, that for sure.
Okay, great. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, I'm Elena. I am leading the PUX team, the product and UX team at TX Markets. And I joined the course because I believe it's a good introduction to programming, which I'm not familiar with. I also do a lot of Excel sheets, Google Sheets, not Excel, but Google. Work a lot with those tools, and I've known Harry now for quite some time. I mean, we've worked a lot together on the TX Academy, on the TX conference. And I feel that all this fancy stuff that you can do, I want to do too.
Okay, cool. Great. So welcome. Anyone else that we've missed?
Hi there, I'm Lucas, the product manager Carrefour. Hi Benito, how's it going?
Oh, we got Benito too.
Yeah, I have a background as a data scientist, working as a product manager now for about a year with Carrefour. The main reason that I think this is interesting is that the content is already chewed by someone else and then vomited in your mouth, right? Because if you go over Google Scripts online, the content is massive, and then the course will just give you like templates and use cases and so on.
Yeah, cool. But I won't be vomiting on everything.
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I get your point. No, that's cool. Welcome.
Yes, I'm Benito. I'm working with sales at Core4U with Manu and Lucas, and I would like to simplify some sales process. We have a lot of reports from Salesforce and other parts to get the data in the right place. Or for example, I don't know if it's possible to get my customer from a sheet to Google Maps to see how I can write to the next customer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll say yes, you can.
Wow.
Cool. Have we got everyone now? I think that was anyone we missed. Okay, great. Well, thanks for putting yourselves through the intro round. I know it's a bit awkward. All right, so let me get back to my slides again quickly. All right, so maybe just before I go any further, any questions so far to how the course is organized or this kind of stuff? Any major doubts you have? If not, there'll be more chance to ask questions later. Okay, I'll assume it's good so far. So let's get started. All right. So I'll switch to my second slide deck. So this is the slides for the first lesson. And what we're going to do now is introduce Google Apps Script. So goals in this lesson, we're just going to introduce Google Apps Script and JavaScript in a kind of a theoretical way, show you a bit around the tools, and by the end of it, you should be able to write your first script. So I'm going to go all in by beginning with a demo. So here we have a Google Sheet with your names in it and your email addresses. And you'll find this, by the way, there's a Google Drive with all the course material in there. I'll share it after this lesson. All right, so here's what it's like to create a Google script. You click on the Tools menu, you click on Script Editor, and let's say, I don't know, let's just call this Lesson 1. So I clicked up here. Here it's telling me which user this script is going to run as. So it's going to run as me. Let's do something interesting, like what should we do? Let's say, let's do something like this. So we say variable sheet is equal to get active sheet. I'm doing it live, so I'm a little bit but we'll see if this is going to work okay. All right, so what this has done is it's saying give me a variable called sheet, and we'll go into explaining variables and this stuff in the next course, so don't panic at this point. From the active sheet. So this is the active sheet. And then let's get some data out of the sheet. So data is equal to sheet.get get get data. Hold on. I practiced this yesterday, and now I forgot with the tension of get range. Maybe this is get dates. No, wait a second. Excuse me 1 second. I have it. Okay, I tell you what we're going to do. Instead of pretending that I'm super cool and confident, I'm going to show you what I would do under normal circumstances when I can't remember what I'm doing. I go across to Google, I type Google Apps Script. Normally, in Google, you always want to put Google Apps Script. Get all data from sheet, let's say. And then that's what get data range, get values. So there you go. So I do this. Get data range, get values. Okay. Saved by Google. Right. So then we've done that. Now let me just show you something what we've actually got here. So if I now use this thing logger log, I hit run. That's this arrow here, and it's running my function. Now it's going to ask me about some security permissions. So I have to review the permissions. First, it's going to ask me which accounts should this script run as. Yep, I want to use my current account. And then it's going to say, okay, this script called lesson 1 wants to see, create, delete spreadsheets from Google Drive. So I wrote it, I trust this. So I click allow, and that will happen the first time you run a script. Okay, now let's see what happened. There we go. Now, here, what we've got is the log output. So what I've done is I took this data from the sheet, and then I say logger, log the data. And what it does is it logs it in this, a bit hard to read, but there you can see those are, let's have a look here. So the 2 columns are called name and email. There you can see them there. And then you can see here are the rows of this data. Okay. So that's what we've got so far. Now let's do something more interesting with this. Let's go through that data. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shift off the first row because that's the column headings. We don't need that. Then I'm going to use something called a loop. And again, just relax and don't panic. I'm going to be explaining all of these programming things I'm doing right now in the next lesson. But let's do this. So var, we have a variable, accounting variable called I. And what we're doing here is this is basically counting through the rows of data we've got there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do mailapp.send email. And here we're going to have, if we just look at the data again, so the first column is the name, the second column is the email. Now that corresponds to, if I say data row number I1, that's the email address, and I say welcome to the course, to the gas course, let's call it that. And then I can do like this, hello, and then I can do, and then I can get the name from the data. Anyone want to guess what's going to happen when I send this, when I run this?
We'll send an email to all the people in the list with welcome to the gas course and hello with the name.
Let's see what happens. Right, it's going to ask me again for permissions because I've now started using the email API. So each time you first run it or you first start using a new API, it just checks that you have permission. Now the reason why it does that is it wants to make sure that you're not accidentally running someone else's script. All right, and if that worked okay, you should all have some spam in your inbox.
It did.
Oh, I have that joke ready. You just took it from me.
Fantastic. Do you see the incredible power to spam your colleagues? This is fantastic. All right, so that was basically how Google Apps Script works. So we went from the spreadsheet, we enter the script editor, we created a little bit of code, we ran it, and it immediately started working. And it got data out of the spreadsheet, counted through the data in what's called a loop, and sent an email using that data. So I hope you look at how little code that is. We just did something, I mean, think how long it would take you to manually, copy each email one by one and send an individual email. That would take you some time to do manually. Okay, so everyone highly impressed so far or not?
Yeah.
So that, but I show you to that. The reason why I show you that is to give you a feeling. This is actually a super enjoyable environment to work with that you can get very quick feedback from without having to spend time installing stuff. All right, so now a little bit of theory. Okay, so Google Apps Script is actually JavaScript. Google Apps Script, they've called it that because it's when it's running in Google's cloud. So I'll explain that in a second. But what can you do with Google Apps Script? So here are a few examples. You can access and modify files on Google Drive, manipulate Google Sheets, so read data out, change data, copy data, etc. Insert charts. You can send and you can read your own emails, which can be super useful. Like if you can have it checking your email on a periodic basis, and maybe there's like someone sent you a file once a week. You can then run a script on the file that they sent you. You can schedule calendar events, generate documents, slides, and forms, translate text, create static maps, and a whole ton of other stuff. It's actually, what's super cool about it is with this language, you have basically access to all of the G Suite functionality and a bunch of other services that Google offers in their Google Cloud. And so once you really get into it, you can do crazy stuff with this. It's actually super powerful. Yeah. Now you guys sent me some use cases. So let me go through some of these use cases and see if they're doable. So one of you asked, like, I said, you want to create a folder in Google Drive and share access to a specific user. So this is really easy to do. I'll share the slides after. You can check this out. Well, actually, I'll show you quickly. So Google has documentation for all the different APIs, and you have the Drive service, which is, the Drive service, where they always have, like, first this overview page, and then within the Drive service, you have a number of different tools called classes, like the folder class. So you can do things like loop through the folders, or if you have a folder, you could add an editor or a viewer to that folder. So that's basically that use case addressed. Another example, I'm getting a file with data every week. It's zipped into my inbox. It'd be cool to automate adding this data to my usual Google Sheet. For now, I'm doing it manually. So this one you need to use a few different things. So you'd use the Gmail service to read the emails, and then you copy the zip to that should be Google Drive. Use the Drive service and utilities unzip to unzip the file. And assuming it's a CSV file, is that correct? Whoever submitted this?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so if it's a CSV file, there's this utilities pass CSV. You can read the file, and then using the spreadsheet service, you can open the spreadsheet you want and push the data in there. There's even, I found some examples on the web which are almost ready to go for this problem. So you can have a look at all the links after I'll share these slides. So another thumbs up. I want to automate a budget and cash flow spreadsheet. Okay, now this one depends a lot on what your exact requirements are. That's quite high level, but basically you can do all of this with the spreadsheet service. So you have functions, of course, in Google Sheets, but when it comes to moving data around and this kind of stuff, you may find it's a lot easier to use Google Apps Script. So in lesson 4, I think I had it down, we'll be spending quite a bit of time digging into the Google Sheet API. Can we replace Zapier queries from other services with Google Script? So Zapier is a service, by the way, for everyone that you can use to integrate different things or connect third-party services. Now, it depends, for this one, it depends what the requirement is, but there is a URL fetch service in Google Apps Script that you can use to pull things off the internet. You know, you could pull some pull something off a web page and put it into a spreadsheet. That's the sort of thing you can do with Google Apps Script. Okay, so far 4 out of 4 use cases. Here's a few more. So here's page 2. I'd like to build a system that alerts us when something is off with our delivery of ads. A bit more specifically, I'd like to find out how I can pull data from Google Ad Manager, run some analytics, and send out an alert to my team if something's off. Now, for this, I just had a bit of Googling today, and I found that Google, they have something called Google Ads Script, which is exactly the same as Google Apps Script. It's just more them marketing it. And they have some specific APIs for Google Ad Manager. And I found, for example, they have an example of an account anomaly detector, which is written in Google Apps Script. And also I found from some Googling a lot of examples of these types of things online. So we could dig into that or make that kind of a homework exercise. I'm happy to help out with that. Sounds like an interesting problem. I have an Excel sheet that I need to import every month, then manipulate data and paste it to another Google sheet where I do a VLOOKUP. Again, that's an Excel sheet. There's a few tricks to convert them into Google Sheets. There's a blog post explaining how to do it there, but this is, again, very doable. Okay, apply styles conditionally, advanced filters, etc. Was this, I was a bit confused to what this meant. Was this to a Google Sheet you meant to apply styles? Whoever posted that. If not, well, just say it can be done. You can also do filtering. So we'll probably explore this in lesson 4. And if whoever posted that use case, you're welcome to contact me after. We can look into it. All right, so here's one. A while back, I took a look at Gmail exporting functionalities to be able to report on reaction time of my team and such KPIs. As I didn't have much time to invest, I wasn't able to get access to shared data mailbox. I had to postpone that topic. All right, so there's many ways you could solve this one. And the challenge is security permissions. Because getting access to people's inboxes is not something that you'd be able to do by default. But as I understand the problem, it's like someone gets an email and you want to see how quickly they respond to that. What you could do is ask them to install a script that you've created using the Gmail service. And maybe you watch for certain emails like a support request based on the subject. And then when they hit reply, you in some ways you could maybe detect that and then report something back to a central spreadsheet. So that's one approach you'd do to do it. You'd need to get each person doing this to give you permission to do that. But I think that's doable. Last use case from you guys. So yeah, we often have a lot of requests from internal users where we can simplify a process. Often a script would automate, de-skill some routine workflows. Okay, now this one I put a short kind of, let's say, I don't want to call it a rant, but let's say this. So the previous examples show you can do a lot of automating, but the important thing that you need to be aware of, in my opinion, is when you change an existing process for a team of people, even if that's an inefficient process, like they're emailing Excel spreadsheets left, right, and center, and it's complete anarchy, but somehow it's a working process, even if it's slow. And so if you have a working process, even if it's a bad one, you need to be prepared to spend a lot of time guiding people on a new process if you automate it for them. So that means communicating the change clearly, communicate with individually with those people. And basically it's an 80-20 situation. So 20% of the work is the automation. 80% is getting everyone else to change to the new process. All right. So, but basically of your use cases, I can say, yep, these are all very doable with Google Apps Script. All right, now just one, here's a nice graph that I created this morning. Now, while I'm getting you all excited about automation, I should warn you of one thing. So you may have, like, let's say I waste 2 hours a week doing this manual job, let me automate it. Here's what usually happens when you automate. So first you create a script and maybe that takes 8 hours in the first week. Then you have to spend like another 4 hours fine tuning as you find some problems. And that takes you through to next week. And then you discover a bug or two that takes you another couple of hours. And so what you see is that if you carried on wasting these 2 hours a week, you're still better off until about week 7 on this graph. So in other words, to put this in a simple way, when you automate things, you're investing upfront time to save time in the future. And sometimes, you know, it's not worth saving the time. Like sometimes, like there's something that, you know, costs 15 minutes every week, but, you know, the effort to automate it would be like super complicated. Maybe you just carry on doing the manual way, okay? So I'm just putting it out there. So before you race off to automate all the things, bear in mind that it's like making an investment. It takes some time for anything to return. All right, so we can power through these last 8 minutes. Everyone's still got some oxygen in their brain?
Yeah, sure.
All right, take a deep breath. We're going to just dive into a little bit of technical stuff now. All right, so first thing is JavaScript. So you'll find some links here to a full history of JavaScript. JavaScript began as a language for web browsers, and it was invented by this guy, Brandon Eich, who was working at Netscape back in the early days of the browser wars. And he designed the whole language in 10 days. So in a way, it's very good. It made it simple, but in otherwise, there are a lot of problems that he left behind. One quick point here is Java is not JavaScript. So I thought this put it nicely. Java is to JavaScript as ham is to hamster. So there's no real relationship. So they called it JavaScript because at the time Sun Microsystems was making a lot of hype about Java, doing a lot of marketing. So they were cheeky and they called language JavaScript to get people interested. Okay, but Java, JavaScript, two very different programming languages. All right. Now, another thing is just, I'll cover this briefly. So Google Apps Script is JavaScript. And initially, up until recently, the version of JavaScript you're running was JavaScript 5. And it ran on this JavaScript interpreter called Rhino, which bizarrely was written in Java, but it was an older version of JavaScript. Yeah. And now they've updated it to something called the V8 engine. And this is the same JavaScript engine that's used in the Chrome web browser. Now, if you're confused by all this, don't worry. You don't really need to know this. I'm just making you aware of this. Now we can forget the slide completely. All right, this one is a little bit more important because if you go searching the internet for tutorials about JavaScript, you have to understand that mostly people think about JavaScript running in web browsers. And in this case, like if you go to a web page with a little bit of JavaScript on there, which most pages have, the JavaScript actually gets executed in your web browser on your laptop. With Google Apps Script, it's a different story. So the code actually gets executed on Google's cloud, where it's also got Google Sheets and all of these other things. So that's an important distinction. Don't worry too much about it right now, but just bear it in mind. Okay. The security thing we've already covered briefly, but basically just to summarize, when you run a script, if you're using an API like the Mail API, it's going to ask you for permission to do this. And this is so that someone can't trick you into running some script that reads all your emails. Yeah, you'll get it the first time or when you make a change using APIs. We already kind of covered that. All right, now just briefly the tools. So you've already seen the Google Apps Script Editor one way. So when you're using a Google Sheet or a doc or even Google Slides, one of the apps, from the tools menu, you get to the script editor. And this is called a container-bound script. That means it's contained by Google Sheets. The other thing you can do is go to script.google.com. And in here, you can create so-called standalone scripts. You can also see all your container-bound scripts. Now, look briefly at those right now. In the code editor, here's a few important things to notice. So that's the title of your project. That's who this script is going to run by. And when you have a function like this, you can write your code in there. You can run the function by clicking on this arrow. When you have multiple functions, this drop-down serves to let you choose which function. Okay, so that's it. This thing is the code editor. And I'll show you a few cool things. You've seen already that as you type, it tries to complete for you. A big thing is you don't need to panic when you're in the code editor. So if you run into a problem and you get stuck, you can go to the file menu and see the version history. And every time it's saved, it's got the history and a rough idea of what changed. So it's keeping a history of all. So if you have some code that's working, you make a change and then it goes wrong, you can go back to a previous version. So you can't really do anything wrong on this platform. Let me just quickly show you this thing in a live way. So if I go to, where should we go? Let me just go here. So to script.google.com. Now first, in my case, I got a couple of accounts logged in, so I just switched to my own account. And here you can see all my Google Apps Script projects, various things I've been working on, like the TX Academy registration script. You can also create new projects in here, and that launches the script editor. If I look at the registration script, here I can see some things like how much it's run 149 times in the last week, who's got access to the script, which APIs it has access to, when it was created. I can see stuff like on specific executions when it ran. And then in here, it's keeping track of all the log messages I sent. So someone registered. That's why he wanted to get in. So this was the guy, he registered 1 minute before the course and then said, how do I get in? So sadly, it's already full. And then you can get into the script editor this way. And there you see some code. All right, so that's this thing when you get to script.google.com. Let's push on. I've got 60 seconds left. You can also log. So the logging you've already seen once, but you can also from the view menu see the logs. And if I have some code like this, logger.log, this is useful as you're writing code so that you can see what it's doing, maybe like see the value of a variable. We'll come back to a lot more of this later. All right, let's get to the homework. So your challenge, your homework for this week is create a script that sends me an email, and the subject is my first Google Apps script, and the body can be, I hope it works. You're free to be creative. You can create new scripts here or directly from a spreadsheet. There's a couple of tips. And you want to look at the Mail app service, the documentation for that. Or just Google, always put Google Apps Script beforehand and you'll find things. There's bonus points if you can send a CC to someone else in the cloud, and huge bonus points if you can send an HTML email containing a link to TX Academy. So it should say the word, come and visit TX Academy, and when you click on TX Academy...
What's the value of a bonus point?
You can exchange it for toilet paper at your local supermarket.
Well, that's super valuable.
I mean, that is the most type of valuable bonus point right now. So, okay,
damn,
that's
all right. I'm in.
cool. So,
yeah, this was the normal bonus point will then be, you know, like a tissue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One bug roll for each email.
which you receive after the lockdown has ended. Okay, so I'll share the slides with you and put everything on Slack. Was this useful so far? I'm going to send out a survey, but was the pace about right? Do you have a feeling you learned something today?
Yes, absolutely. Pace was
perfect,
actually.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot.
Right, I'll send out I'll put a link on survey for this because I just want to get your feedback on the pacing, and if anyone's having trouble, you can also use that as an opportunity to ask me any questions or to repeat stuff. Yeah, so we did it. First Google Apps Script lesson. Thanks so much for joining, everyone.
Hey.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Thanks. Bye, guys.